So I'm a fucking idiot, and I recorded this whole thing, and it was great, and I did such a good job at explaining how to EQ, and then it turns out that I wasn't recording the whole time. So now I'm really pissed off, and you're gonna get the angry version of this video. So yeah, so something people miss a lot of the time is EQing, and I'm sure all of you know what the fuck EQing is, but I'm sure a lot of you also don't know what the fuck EQing is. So I'm gonna teach you what EQing is. So let's fucking get this shit. Yeah, EQing. So EQ is one of the most important bits of music production techniques that you can really learn. It's fundamental to any production in a DAW. And yeah, a lot of people tend to just fucking ignore it and just shit out, bad beats. And, Papa Graves isn't going to let you shit out bad beats. Papa Graves is going to whip you into shape. So I'm going to teach you how to EQ. So first thing we're going to learn is a little bit of the science behind how EQing works. And then we'll get into exactly how you do it in Ableton. And then I'll just show you basically EQing a sample, EQing drums. Super basic. A lot of this is experimentation and research that you have to do on your own. And I just hope this gets your foot in the fucking door or something. I don't know. So yeah, so basically, how sound works at a scientific level with our ears is, let's say you have like a sound here. Let's say you have like a swum snare here, you got swum, snare, like 4. So swum snare's 4 hits, and then it emits audio frequencies like this in waves. And then your ear picks that shit up, and then it rattles the fuck around in your eardrum, which is connected to your brain, and then your brain tells you what those sounds are, basically. So on a scientific level, that's what's going on. So, as I said, sound comes in waves. It's a big old spectrum of frequencies. So you have all frequencies here. It's an infinite spectrum. You can have basically super, super high, dense sound waves, and it's just a matter of how fast those waves are vibrating. So if it's like this, hold up. Damn, I just drew too much. All right. So what determines what area of the frequency a sound comes in is how fast that its wave is oscillating, basically. So you have a normal, sine wave. This is a sound wave, basically, right? So if it's going super slow like this, that's going to come in as a low end. But if it's going super fast like this, and of course it's going to be smooth, but you get the idea, then it's going to be a high end or some kind of like very punchy sound, as opposed to, a kick is going to look like this, a hi-hat or a snare is going to look like this. You get the gist. So you have this big spectrum, right? Imagine that this box is all the sound that humans can pick up with their ears. And then anything beyond this is either too low for our ears to pick up or too high for our ears to pick up. So this little box, for example, to help you kind of grasp this idea, those whistles that emit such a high frequency that only dogs can hear it? That resides pretty much right here in this little box. And then this is what humans can hear, this is what dogs can hear. So basically, the reason you need to EQ is because you only have this box. You only have this much space to send frequencies in your song. So you can only use this much. You have a budget. You can't send an infinite amount of sound. Clearly, of course, you can do like some fucking ear rape YouTube bass boosted 1,000 times type shit if that's what you want to make. But if you're trying to make music that's mixed well, then you only have a certain amount of frequencies to budget. So what you really have to do is you have to cut frequencies from sounds that don't need to be there. So superfluous frequencies, like let's say you have a sample with like a bass line that you don't really need, you gotta cut that. Transients, so if there's any I keep saying superfluous, fucking SAT words. If there's any bullshit that doesn't need to be there, basically get rid of it. because it doesn't need to be there. And yeah, clean that shit up. And I know people are gonna be like, oh, Nick, but I'm making lo-fi and I want those transients. Well, you need to know how to fucking cut them in the first place if you're gonna leave them. You should know the fucking rules before you break them, because then it's art. If you're just dumb and you don't know, then, like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, learn how to fucking EQ, because then people will always ask me, like, fuck, man, like, I wish my mixes were fucking as good as blah, 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 like, fucking Japan or some shit. I'm talking about this guy, by the way, JP, and not the country. And it's really not that hard. You just need to put a little work in to learn how to EQ, learn how to mix and master. So that's why you're watching this fucking video. I'm gonna stop ranting. So basically, let's say you got a sound wave here, right? Let's say you got a kick, actually. So a kick's gonna kind of come in like this. It's got these low ends here, it's got these mids here, and it's got these highs here. So with a kick, you really just kind of want to keep these. You're probably just gonna EQ this out. But then let's say the sample you're working with has like insane low end. You gotta make room for this, because what's gonna happen now is your kick's gonna try and come in, and it's gonna be fighting with your sample. And you don't want shit to fight. You want shit to all have its own little compartment in your mix. So you're gonna probably EQ the sample like this, and then your kick's gonna kind of be EQ'd like this, and they'll just mesh nice together. Maybe you'll cut the sample here, and then like you'll like have your hats come in here, and then your snare will punch here. It's just, you gotta layer shit, and it's gonna end up, you know, you're making a fucking, what you're doing here is you're making a beautiful sonic painting, you know. And I'm fucking Bob Ross teaching y'all, you know, anyone can paint. So yeah, let's get right into fucking Ableton and get a little EQing going. So again, as I said, I already fucking recorded this video, so I have the EQ I did done, but I'm just gonna show you this sample that I chopped up.
Tell me. Tell me.
So yeah, so basically what I said when I was recording it the first time is, I'll just redo the EQ, honestly. So we got the sample here. Another little trick about Ableton, if you hit this S button right here, you can just listen to solely this track. I have drums done, you can hear them, but they're shit. They're just, you know, some 5-minute type shit. But you can listen to just the sample by doing that.
Tell me.
So immediately what I hear is, I hear a bass line that is getting super compressed and is kind of hogging up space in the mix. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to EQ that bitch out. And you don't really want to like be like, how do I explain this? So this is EQ8. I'm getting a little ahead of myself. You drag this shit in, as I said. So you're going to go to audio effects, you're going to drag EQ8 in to your track. And as you flip through tracks, you know, if you want to leave a EQ8 on track 3, you do that. You know, that's how that works. So we're on audio 2, we have the sample here in 2, we got the EQ here on 2. And what you're going to want to do is you're initially just going to want to play around with this stuff. So how it works is you get these little like circles, and you can just drag them around, and they'll affect, you know, what's getting cut how. And it kind of makes sense. You can see, you can visualize the sound wave. So all this shit below here is the only stuff that's getting, anything above the line is getting cut, basically. So all this stuff under here isn't getting cut, but all the stuff up here is getting cut. So this stuff right here, we're not hearing it. So you can hear the difference. You can hear that there's a bass, like a low end stuff that's not coming through anymore because we EQ'd it out. And that's because we want to leave room for our kick, which is going to come in around here. That hat's really loud too, so we're just going to kind of cut this. We're really just going to kind of leave the mids. We're going to leave a little space here because the snares like to come in around here.
Tell me.
That's sounding pretty good. Something you want to avoid is like cutting crazy like this. And people are like, oh, but that's lo-fi. Like, no, don't do that. Like, you want to leave a lot of space in your mix. But, like, at the same time, you don't want to utterly destroy the sample you're working with. So yeah.
Tell me.
So I'm gonna just cut all. These are un-EQ'd drums now, by the way. So in Drum Rack, the cool thing about Drum Rack is you can take your EQ8, you got it right here, and you're just gonna drag that, and you're gonna drag it onto all the drums individually. So and then we're gonna drag the EQ8 to the right of all this. So now how this works is we're on mixer on track 5, and this EQ here is all the drums. And then if we click individually through them here, we can see each individual sound getting EQ'd as well. And it's really important, like, for the love of God, just EQ everything initially. Like, some stuff is probably just going to sound fine as it is, and you don't need to EQ it, but throw an EQ on everything so you can, like, just so you can visualize where everything is coming in. And that's very important. So now we're going to get EQing. We're going to start with the kick. So right off the bat, I'm just going to pitch this down a bit because it's not coming in. It wasn't coming in right where I wanted it to. And on kicks, all this this stuff out here beyond 1000 hertz out here, we don't really need it. So when you're just starting, it's okay on drums to be kind of harsh with how you're EQing. You can just kind of cut. It's fine to kind of just cut like that. But for me, I'm going to kind of just leave a little shelf here because I kind of like that air at the end of it. So here's a before and after. And you're going to do other processing to your kick. You're going to sidechain and stuff, but we're just EQing in this video. We're going to move on to our hats. So you can see it comes in a lot in the lows, and you really don't need that stuff. So right there, you heard it sounds kind of tinny. We want to keep the body of the hat. The body of this one comes in a little lower, right about here. And then we're just going to cut a little bit of these little highs. Cool. Then we're going to cut our snare. So you really want to avoid boosting. You don't really want to do stuff like this most of the time, but on your snares you can kind of boost around 200. Just give them a little punch. I don't really like the highs on this, so I'm just going to kind of bring them down a bit. And that's, yeah. You're going to cut. You want to leave a lot with the snare because that's kind of, you want it to be big. I mean, unless you don't want it to be big and chunky. If you're making kind of stuff with like a calmer snare, you're going to EQ more. I let the snares kind of run wild a lot of the time. So yeah, we got our kick, our hat, and our snare EQ'd. We got our sample nice and EQ'd. So let's give it a listen.
Tell me. Tell me.
And I'm going to turn off the EQ just for like a difference so you can hear.
Tell me.
You can hear the snares barely coming through. The hat's going too crazy.
Tell me.
You can barely even hear the kick. And then we turn that EQ back on.
Tell me.
And you can hear everything beautifully. And yeah, that's the magic of EQing. It's really not that hard. I think all of it is practice though. So you just gotta sit down, you just gotta practice EQing stuff. So yeah, I hope this video helped you out. Happy 420. Peace.